This is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Corey provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles.
Hello and welcome back to Financially Fit Radio. My name is Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group and Wealth Advisors. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And while you're on our website, click on that radio page. You can check out past shows and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Also, feel free to visit our YouTube page by typing in Safe Harbor Retirement Group to watch videos on different financial topics. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us with questions, or if you want to set up a face-to-face or even a virtual meeting, remember all meetings are complimentary with no obligation. Well, I'd like to wish everyone, first of all, a happy new year. It's hard to believe 2023 is finally here. Today, though, what we're really going to talk about are ways that you can prepare for retirement. You know, financial security in retirement, it doesn't just happen. It takes planning and commitment and, of course, yes, money. Only half of Americans have calculated how much they need to save for retirement. The average American spends roughly 20 years in retirement. So putting money away for retirement is a habit that you really need to be able to create. So we're going to talk about this topic today, but before we kind of do that, let me introduce to you my co-host every week, and that's Tony Shore. Tony, Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to you too, Corey. Excited about 2023. I think there's a lot of great indicators that point to a much better year, hopefully, with the economy and finances. We'll have to see, but I'm excited about it. We're going to be bringing our listeners a lot of great topics. I know you're going to work hard this year to really educate our listeners on what they need to know to deal with what's going on out there in the financial world. So 2023 should be a good one. I've had a great week, had a good Christmas. How about you? How are you doing?
Tony, doing well. It's hard to believe 2022 has really, come to an end. We had as a firm, we had a really successful 2022. And we're looking forward to 2023. Of course, I'm going to be working with a lot of clients that are retiring here in the next 3 months. It seems like the most common retirement is that January through, seems like April of every year, when people are really trying to focus on being able to retire. And so the first quarter is always a busy year for us. So definitely looking forward to that. And more importantly, it's a great feeling to be able to sit across from somebody to finally say that, what, our plan is being executed and now you can officially retire.
Wow. Yeah. And I know that you're working with quite a few people right now who are headed into retirement and others that are just planning for it. So that's what you want to help our listeners with. No matter where you're at on that time horizon, you want to make sure you've got a plan in place. So where do you want to start today?
Well, the first thing, Tony, in order to retire, in order to make the money that you want to make in retirement, the biggest thing that you have to do, first of all, is you need to be able to save. Not only you need to be able to save, but you need to keep saving. And more importantly, you really need to kind of stick to whatever goals you have. And hopefully you're working with an advisor that can sit down with you and help you achieve those goals. We always talk about compound interest, just on how important it really is. But let me kind of throw a few numbers out at you, just so everyone kind of has an idea of really what it means. Let's just say you want to start saving $6,000 a year.
Yep.
And let's just say on your long-term growth, you're going to average about 7% returns. So, if you actually save $6,000 a year for 35 years, that's going to equate to over $800,000 that you're going to be able to have in your nest egg. If you can compare that to say 25 years, which doesn't sound like a whole lot. It's 10 years less that you save. You're going to only save about $380,000 during that time
It's a
frame.
huge difference.
That's exactly right. And if you get in that 15-year range, you're looking around $150,000. And if you're really late and only trying to save, for about 5 years, it's only a little over $34,000. So the point of all this is you need to be able to create a savings plan. Hopefully we've talked about it in the past, but hopefully you're saving somewhere between 10 to 15% of your, whatever your income is, and it increases over time as well. But the best way to be able to plan for retirement is to make sure that you're saving the right amount. And by working with an advisor that has a fiduciary responsibility to you, we're going to be able to create projected income plans for you or projected savings plans for you to make sure that you're going to be on track to meet whatever goals that we're trying to really, provide you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's huge. Obviously, the more you can save, the better. And like you say, at least 10 to 15% of your income should be going into investments and retirement savings, things like that. And of course, it depends on your situation. I know, Corey, that's something you can help our listeners with. If they want to meet with you or talk with you, they can, or you and your staff there can help them figure out, okay, here's your time horizon. Here's how much you need to be saved, right?
That's exactly right. One of the things that we do is as we kind of go through the process, Tony, is, we create a financial plan and kind of project what it looks like today, based upon what you're saving and what's it going to look like, the day that you do retire. One of the things I think people need to realize is on most cases, you're going to need to earn around 70 to 90%, somewhere in that area of what you actually make today in retirement to be able to have the same type of standard of living. Right. So the only way to be able to project where you're going to be able to go is to sit down with us. You have to remember all meetings are complimentary. There's no obligation, but we can kind of project what it's going to look like for your retirement based upon how much you've saved up to this point and how much you're going to keep saving until until you do retire. So you really need to know what your retirement needs are. And again, the best way to do that is to have a financial plan to see where you are today and how are you going to get to where you need to get to by the time you need to get there in order to retire and have that worry-free retirement that we always talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, and some people might want to retire earlier than others as well, and you just want to make sure that you've got enough saved and you know what your plan is moving forward, what your goals are, and figuring out all those numbers. That's what people want. That's what people need help with. How much am I going to need? And nobody wants to take a pay cut in retirement, right?
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah, you definitely don't want to take a pay cut in retirement. In some cases, there's some situations out there that I work with clients because have done a great job of saving where they actually make more in retirement than they did while they were working. So, so everyone's situation's different, but until you kind of go through the process to find out where I am today and where I need to go, you're not going to know a lot of those answers. And of course, one of the biggest things that you can do when we start talking about savings is you need to make sure that if you have wherever you're working, if they have a retirement savings plan, whether it's a 401k or thrift savings or deferred comp or whatever that, or 403b, whatever that is, you need to make sure that you're contributing to it. And you especially need to make sure that you're at least putting in, whatever they're going to be able to match at. If they're going to match up to 3 or 4 or up to 6% of whatever you put into it, it's just money that you're leaving on the table. So you need to be able to, it's free money. You need to be able to make sure that you understand. That's another part of it. You need to really understand what is actually, how does your 401k or your retirement savings plan at work? How does that actually work? And you need to make sure that you're taking advantage of that, because that's an easy way to be able to save additional money if they're providing a match.
Yeah, I think that's huge. So do you want to take a quick break here, Corey? And if so, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, no problem, Tony. For our listeners out there, you can always give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can always visit our website at safeharboroh.com. Whether you give us a call or visit our website, you can schedule or request a complimentary, no obligation meeting with us. We're really here to help and guide you. We want to make sure that you do have a worry-free retirement. And really the best way to be able to do that is to have a roadmap. And that roadmap is really a financial plan. And we're here to help create one if you don't have one. And if you do have one, we can be that second set of eyes and provide a second opinion. So I highly recommend that you take advantage of this. Give us a call at 614-760-0670, or again, just visit our website at safeharboroh.com to schedule that complimentary, no obligation meeting with us.
All right. Thanks, Corey. And listeners, stay tuned. We're going to be right back with more of Financially Fit Radio and our host, Corey Sickles, after this.
There are 96 different months you could file for Social Security benefits. There's over 9,000 combinations if you are married. But that's not all. There's advanced filing strategies that can also be used. By the time you factor it all in, there are over 20,000 calculations that need to be run to find the best way to file for Social Security benefits. To request your complimentary Social Security Maximization Report from Safe Harbor Retirement Group, visit safeharboroh.com. The Social Security Maximization Report will tell you exactly what to do and exactly when to do it.
Hello and welcome back to Financially Fit Radio. My name is Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group and Wealth Advisors. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And while you're on our website, click on that radio page. You can check out some past shows and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Also, feel free to visit our YouTube page by typing in Safe Harbor Retirement Group. You can watch videos on different financial topics. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us with questions or if you want to set up a face-to-face or virtual meeting. And remember, all meetings are complimentary with no obligation. Well, Tony, we've been kind of talking about ways to prepare for retirement. And, one of the things I'll just kind of talk about next, and not everyone has the luxury of having a pension plan. Of course, you might be, if you work for the state or a federal employee, you'll have that. Or you might be in a situation where you actually had a pension plan that started when you started working there, and then at some point you might be grandfathered into it. But going forward, there's very few pension plans for new employees out there. So if you do have a pension plan, you really need to be able to make sure that you understand that, especially if you're going to maybe change jobs later in life and things like that as well. In most cases anymore, you have the option to take a lump sum, or you can, of course, at some point in time, you can also receive some type of monthly payment going forward. Or some of them even ask, I know a lot of the state employees, for example, also have the ability to take what we call a plop, which means you can take a portion of it as lump sum, but still get your, monthly income as well, or a portion of that monthly income as well. So it can be a tricky situation, but one of the things that we do is when we put together a financial plan for you, we're going to be able to show you what it looks like in retirement if you take the lump sum, or what's it going to look like in retirement if you take the monthly income, or as I said, a combination of both. You really need to be able to be educated to make sure that you understand the way that pension works for you. And one of the things that we can definitely do is see if we can put you in a situation that's going to be best for you.
Yeah.
That is our goal.
It can affect the surviving spouse, how you decide to take that pension.
That's exactly right. When you start taking the pension, that's exactly right. Do you take a single life? Do you take a joint life? What do you actually do? And again, we can, whatever scenario that when you come in and we discuss on what kind of options you want to look at, we can put together a plan for you to kind of show you what it's going to look like. And let's face it, one of the biggest parts of a pension plan that most people do receive is it's locked in for that potential monthly income for the rest of your life. And I think everyone understands, especially this year, that inflation has a big impact on your retirement.
For sure.
For the fact, so you want to be, also want to be in a situation where your income does go up in retirement. Because, if you are making $50,000, if you want to make $50,000 today in retirement today, 20 years or 15 years from now, it's going to have to be closer to $75,000 to $80,000 in order to keep up with that and have the same spending that you do have today as well.
Yeah. it's important to know to factor those things in. And I know that's what you do for your clients. You guys figure out the math, look at their particular situation, and go from there and make sure you're accounting for things like inflation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we definitely include inflation in our numbers. And that's a good way to be able to see if there's a potential for you to potentially run out of money. When someone does retire, the last thing they want to do is run out of money.
Right.
And that's why you need to really work with an advisor, put together a financial plan to see if you are going to have any of those instances where there is a potential for you to run out of money.
Exactly. So what's next?
Well, one of the things that I do see more than anything, not more than anything, but I see quite a bit, and that is they'll always ask me, should I take money out of my retirement savings while I'm still working in order to help pay for some other goods or things, or, provide help to a child, pay off the mortgage and things like that. And one of the things that I always try to tell clients is, that savings is for your retirement. So you need to do whatever you can not to be able to take money out of that retirement savings in case things happen. So, of course, we found out during the pandemic, a lot of people had to start digging into their retirement savings because they didn't have jobs. And one of the things that, we talk about so much, Tony, and that is everybody out there, one of the first things that you need to be able to do is have an emergency fund. That emergency fund comes into play if all of a sudden you can't work, or, the air conditioner goes out, or you need a new roof, or, any type of things that could happen even at the house that's going to cause some type of, $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 expense that is totally unexpected. So, so you need to, and I'd highly recommend that if you have an advisor, talk to the advisor before you pull the plug on taking money out of your retirement savings, because that is really the last thing that you want to do. Taking money out of that is going to it could have a huge impact on what your income in retirement is going to look like, or more importantly, it's going to cost you to work a few more years than you should have.
Yeah, that's true. So you've got to really look at where you're at, when to file Social Security. Do you want to work longer? Do you want to work part-time in retirement? All of these things need to be planned out in advance and looked at, right?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned one that I think that's a big one, right? And that's Social Security. Yeah. In most cases, that is it's the foundation of kind of building that income plan for you in retirement. On average, Social Security retirement benefits, replace about 40% of someone's income in retirement, right? So you really want to be 40% or below that. And the lower the number, or the higher the number of Social Security, just tells me that you've basically have saved not enough that you really should have. So, the smaller amount of Social Security that makes up your overall retirement plan is going to be, you're going to be just going to be in a such better situation. Now, for a lot of people that are receiving Social Security this year, hey, they're getting an 8.7% increase here in 2023. So that's a big jump when we start talking about Social Security benefits. And one of the things that you definitely want to do is you want to be able to maximize that Social Security as well. We have that Social Security maximization report as you kind of go through our process that we can provide to you. And again, we're talking about being educated to make sure that you understand at what age you trigger your Social Security. What kind of impact does that have on the money that I'm going to make through my retirement years?
Right.
Because sometimes, by, working another year or two longer, you might be able to make anywhere from $400 to $600 or $700 more a month just by delaying your Social Security. And, if you work for the state, we can definitely check what your windfall is going to be off of that. If you're married, of course, our report's going to show you what's the best way for you and your spouse to be able to maximize that. If you've lost a loved one, we're going to be able to even show you what a widow or widower does in order to be able to maximize your Social Security benefits in retirement. Yeah. You only get one try at it, right? So you need to make sure that you do this one the correct way. And there should be no excuse for someone not being educated on it anymore. there's so much, I'm sure I'm not the only advisor that actually talks about maximizing Social Security. And if your advisor doesn't talk to you about that, then you probably need to look at it for another advisor.
So I know you have a report that you run for your for your clients, and you can run it for our listeners, called the Social Security Maximization Report. We've talked about it on the show before. Why don't you let our listeners know how they can get a hold of that?
Yeah, the best way to do that, you even can go to our website, or you can give us a call in. In order for us to run the Social Security Maximization Report, we don't need your Social Security number. We need to know who you are, what your birthdays, are, of course, and what you're going to receive at your full retirement for Social Security. And if you provide that for you and your spouse, or, you or your widow or widower, then we're going to be able to show you exactly what that's going to look like in retirement. And again, it's a nice report that we can kind of lay out, and you can tell us what age you want to try to retire at, right? We'll show you the difference between taking it at 65 and 68, or 68 and 70, or 62 and 66. Whatever those numbers are for you, we can show you what type of impact that's truly going to have on your retirement.
Yeah, that's huge. So what else do you have for us in the show today, Corey?
One of the last things we want to kind of talk about too, Tony, is basic, your basic investment principles, right? Mm-hmm. And really what I'm talking about there is how do I invest my money? And the key to all this is of course, is allocation. And one of the things our listeners can do is go out to our website. We have a little, what we call it's called our Color of Money Risk Analysis, but you can take a little 11-question quiz. It's going to tell you at the end of it what your score is. And the main thing here is you want to make sure that you're allocated based upon your score. As you age, you're going to probably find out that you become more conservative. And you just want to make sure as you're planning and as you're, planning for retirement, or you're in retirement, that your investments match what your risk score is. You don't want to be overexposed to the market, especially like right now. Hopefully if you're 65, you haven't lost 20% in the market, even though that's what the market's down. If you've lost 20%, then you're pretty much 100% stocks.
Yeah.
So that tells me that you're a little bit, you're a little bit out of whack on what your risk tolerance is.
Right.
But it's so important to be able to make sure that you understand on what your best way to be allocated is. And that's one of the things that we do. You also want to make sure you do have some stocks in there. You need to be able to keep up with inflation over the long term. And if again, it's all about allocation with, we have a lot of different types of products. We can help you, get there, but you need to make sure again that you understand how you're invested. Your advisor understands where you want to be able to go. And our job is to make sure that you're allocated correctly, because that's the best way that you're going to be able to have a worry-free retirement.
Yeah. How can our listeners, before we go, let our listeners know one more time how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, no problem, Tony. For our listeners out there, you can always visit our website at safeharboroh.com, or just give us a call at 614-760-0670. I know today we've been talking about ways to prepare for the retirement, but really the best thing that you can do is sit down with us. We can put together a financial plan for you if you don't have one. Or again, if you do have one, we can be that second set of eyes, provide you a second opinion. It's our goal to make sure that you have, a worry-free retirement. And really the best way to do that is to be able to have a financial plan.
Yeah.
And we're really here to help, create that for you. And more importantly, as you become a client, that's something we could adjust on a year-to-year basis, because things do happen. Again, in order to take advantage of that, you can schedule a complimentary no-obligation meeting with us. That phone number is 614-760-0670. Or always feel free to visit us online at safeharboroh.com.
All right, and that does it for today's episode of Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles. Thank you for listening to Financially Fit Radio. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, contact Corey Sickles at Safe Harbor Retirement Group. Call 614-760-0670 or visit their website at financiallyfitoh.com. Corey Sickles and Safe Harbor Retirement Group are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. All matters discussed during this show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation.